Hi, it's Roger here with episode 12 of Entrepreneur TV. Wow, 12 episodes already. If you are new to this channel, go and subscribe here. Then go back and watch those first 11 episodes. This is a super special 12th episode. It is our Q&A episode. So I've got a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to jump right into. And if I don't get to your question, my apologies because there's been so many of them, but I'm going to get through as many as I can. And I am hoping that out of this, there are going to be for each one of you that are watching this, something very specific you can take away and use because they're across a whole wide range of the challenge we have as entrepreneurs. All right, so the first one from Glenn Hassard. Hi, Roger. I am a tempo genius. Okay, tempo genius are those who are grounded, like someone who is more like a George Soros trading the markets, or someone like a Warren Buffett analyzing the markets, more than people who are super creative. If you haven't done the Genius Test yet, go follow the links and do those because you're going to hear a lot about that in these questions. One question that keeps coming to mind is, if a skill is not a strength and is a weakness, is there any hope in developing that skill out of necessity? I.e., according to my genius, I'm weak at strategic planning and public speaking. However, I sometimes have to utilize those skills in areas of my life. What is your perspective on this? Okay, so Glenn, think of Warren Buffett. I mentioned him earlier. He said that the biggest fear he ever had was public speaking. Doesn't mean he didn't go on some courses to learn how to speak more effectively, and he doesn't, he still shows up at his AGM and he speaks there, but he doesn't make his money from public speaking. He doesn't go out there and create a show like Oprah Winfrey. So why this is so important is that for you to build your skills in areas that are going to help you, great, go ahead and do that. Right? There's certain things that I'm not so good at, and I've gone out to learn how to do some of those things better, but I certainly am not going to, number one, hold my self-worth to those things. Because if I was to compare myself to others who are great at that and did it naturally, compared to me who has to struggle to do it, I'd feel terrible all the time. So never connect your self-worth to the things that you're not strongest at. And the second thing is, if I was to try and start a business or put all my time into those areas, I'd be exhausted every day. But by actually putting my time and effort into things that I'm great at and having others go into those areas, that allows me to build a team far more effectively. And at the end of the day, the only way to get more time is to turn the time into team. So don't try and do it all yourself. That is selfish, but instead get others to do those other bits and build the skills if you want to in particular areas, even if it's just a hobby. Sandra's Fury, here's a question. Awesome videos. Thanks, Roger. I'm a star profile. Sandra's is a star profile in Africa. So a star is someone who is very good at the people side, someone who's very good at being creative and thinking on their feet. My question is, how can Blaze leverage and grow with few people and still free up time? What I need to multiply in addition to magnify? So we talk about the two ways that you leverage value. We all have great value, but the reason that many of us aren't making more money than we are is because we haven't actually leveraged that effectively. And the two ways to leverage is magnify, which is say, how can this only happen with me? So you're building something specific as a brand, people come to you for that. Or multiply, which is how can this only happen without me? Which means you're creating a system or a structure, which means you don't have to be there. Two very, very different ways of leveraging. What I need to multiply in addition to magnify, I see somebody like Marie Folio, for example, and according to Inc.com, she made $12 million in 2013 with only 5 employees. She seems to use both magnify and multiply, as she is a TV personality and has an online business school. Is that a correct observation? Yes and no. All right. So the most important thing about this, and Marie's great. You can go look at her channel here. It's an awesome channel. And there's no question she's a star profile because she's great in front of the camera. She wasn't always in front of the camera. It's something that she actually started fairly recently. But she's using a multiply strategy, just like with TED.com. It uses YouTube to get out to everybody, uses the internet. Marie's doing the same thing. She has a channel on YouTube. She's using, a blog like many others, tools that allow her to build her brand. But if she disappeared for 6 months, people wouldn't be watching her channel as much because they're coming for her, just like someone would go to see a star because that star's in the movie, right? So why that's important is that magnify is still the core thing she does. Then the fact that people then buy into her business school and has that experience, she's also involved in that too. So that isn't something that she's not there. She's using tools, which means that it can continue without her, but it still requires her to be part of that as well. So I'd say that to you, Sandras, as well, that as a star, knowing that there's a brand that you're building and that the people will be wanting you, but there's a way for you to be continuing to up the value of your time by making sure that every time you're showing up, there's more like 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people that are getting the value of that time. Okay, next, Shaf Kangil. One thing that is blocking me and I really need a solution. I'm a mechanic dynamo, so this is more like a Jeff Bezos from Amazon or Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. They've created systems that allow them to take whatever their real passion is and to multiply that out so that you can have millions of people using the same thing without them having to be there. And I have ample useful ideas, but less marketing ability. I'm using your Genius U platform. That's awesome. And I'm using it to find friends, but still need an idea of how to price products. So this is all about pricing. Okay, great question here. There are no other similar products out there that I'm selling that I can compare to. My target markets are schools, teachers, and teaching agencies. Where does one start? Thanks, Roger. Okay, Shaf, I'm going to do this. I'm going to add a second question in here from Paul Dunn, which is also about pricing. Another magical piece, Roger. Thank you. That's from one of the past videos. And a question, what role does setting your pricing play in setting your standards? So these are two questions from two opposite sides of pricing. Shaf's question is, how do I price to suit the market? Paul's is, how do you price to make sure you're making the money you're looking to make, or that you're defining the customers you want to work with, right? So one's coming from a personal point of view, one's coming from the market point of view. Here's the truth of it. Pricing is one of the biggest untaught, misunderstood arts within entrepreneurship. It is an art. It's something where when you get pricing right, you always connect the two between the market and between your goals. And the key thing here is to know there's three elements within this that you really need to be considering within your business. First one, separate out what it is that you want to achieve and what it is you are going to be delivering to the market, or what the market's willing to pay for, right? So two things. First one, what's going to meet your need? Like this year, I want to make X amount of money, right? Like next month, I'm going to make an extra $10,000. You know, whatever your need is, or what you'd like to achieve, set that totally separate from how you're going to price anything. You know, like Apple Computer has already told their shareholders and the analysts how much money they expect to make next year or the year after, right? It's been built into the price of their company, even though they don't know exactly what the product's going to be or what they're going to price it at yet. Because that's the second element. Separate out what you want to achieve and what's going to fulfill your needs from what people are willing to pay and what they're willing to pay to fulfill their needs. Two separate things. And knowing they're separate means you might say, right, I'm going to aim to make $10,000. That's my need. Now I've separated out the other part, which is it's going to divide up in some way between the people who are looking for that. And I know in order for people to get value for money, if I'm going to earn $10,000 from people, I'm going to have to give a multiple of $10,000 in value to them. So what am I going to give of value? This comes to the second point, which is that all our customer bases really do fit into at least three different categories, which most people haven't decided. So for example, if you go on an airplane, you're going to normally find economy, business, and first class. If you go to different kinds of credit cards or even different kinds of banks, you've got consumer banking and business banking and private banking. You know, why do they divide into three? Because there's always going to be a group of people who are going to be wanting what you have to deliver at the lowest possible price. Someone is going to be wanting it at the highest possible price, and they want to always know they're paying for the best at the highest price. And you're going to have those who are in the middle as well. By knowing that, it allows you to say, right, so if it's $10,000 I'm looking for, my highest level customer, who is that person? How much are they willing to pay? Because they've got a different budget. What are they going to want? It's going to be very different in terms of what they're willing to pay and what they're going to want compared to those who are looking for the economy model, right? So you might find, $10,000, I've got two people who would be willing to pay $5,000 each, but I'm going to have to give them a lot of attention, but look, I hit my number straight away. Didn't have to do any of the multiply side, and straight away you actually get to where you want to get to. Maybe your numbers don't get there, and you're saying, right, I've got the middle side I'm going to be focusing at as well. These guys, where are they spending money elsewhere to get their needs fulfilled? Oh, they're spending it on this or on that. This is where, for Shaf, this comes in for you. You don't price your product. You price the solution to the problem. So if you say, well, no one else is in the market with my product, don't think about the product. Think about, well, what market are you in terms of the problem that you're solving? Because everyone's out there solving problems. And if the people out there don't have a problem that's being solved by someone else right now, no point having a product anyway, right? You have to basically create a product and then try and create a problem for people to solve. No one wants that. But if you say, oh, look, I've created these worksheets, which are for teachers to use to help their kids in exams. Okay, so what is the problem you're solving here? Well, the problem is that, the teachers want the kids to get better exams. Is that really a problem? Maybe it is the teachers don't actually have the budget to do that. They're already putting the money in themselves and they're putting in the work themselves to get the better results. They're not the market anyway. Maybe it's the parents who are actually the ones who are going to be willing to pay for the kids getting better results. In our experience, we found that both the parents and the teachers often were not the ones willing to pay more money because they're already paying so much for education. So within Talent Dynamics for Young People, which is supporting teenagers to find their passions and to find their talents, we found it was actually the companies that were willing to sponsor kids on the basis that they also would be getting an experience for their leadership. And so by thinking really who's got the problem and who's got the budget that you're actually going to be able to connect to, and what's the value you're going to deliver, that then adds up to whatever is the number you're looking to achieve. And then you end up creating north-south pole, and that's where the attraction and the magnetism happens. Third thing, always divide up value and value for money. Meaning, if you've got something that you think is really valuable, it's like, coming back to Shaf's example where she's like, okay, I've got a product that's for teachers. Start by going to a number of the teachers, if that's who your market is, and say to them, I've got this product. Is this something that you'd be willing to bring on board for your, don't even talk about the pricing, but would this be something that helps solve your problem? If they say no, or we don't need that, it's not even about the price. You're on the wrong track anyway. But if they say, yes, we'd love that, and then you say, well, would you be willing to pay this much if I gave you this? And they go, nope. Well, now it's your pricing that's the issue, and you can either bring it down to what's needed or put it up to what's needed if they want a higher level quality solution in the first place. So the whole point of this is that happens through interaction. And even with the amazing thing we have called the internet, if you don't have that personal interaction at the early part of your market research, when you're setting your pricing, it's almost impossible to know why your online products aren't selling, right? So always have that hybrid model where you're speaking to people face to face. Whenever we're starting something new, we'll always send out a questionnaire, who's interested. We'd get those people coming our way, and then we'd phone them and would speak to them about, here's what we're going to be doing. Would you be interested in being part of it? And from there, we always end up proving the model before we go out and start leveraging and multiplying it. In Paul's case, that's the key thing here as well. It is 100% in terms of setting standards for me when we're setting pricing around, first of all, saying what's the level that we are setting for our overall goal, and then meet the market with what it is that they're willing to pay and how many people do we then need to have. And secondly, who are the people we want to work with? Because sometimes you might find that at a certain price, you end up attracting a type of customer you don't want to work with anyway. So use that pricing in a way to actually say, well, what's the appropriate pricing, which actually is setting the standard for the people I want to be working with. And that then allows you to set the standard of the environment and the relationships you're going to be creating in the year ahead. All right, next question, David Lee. Dealmaker. Hi, Roger. First of all, thanks for all the goodies you share on your channel. My pleasure. I got a lot of value from it, and I'm a dealmaker, which is basically someone who's very sensory as well as very good with people. Someone like a Rupert Murdoch or a Donald Trump. They're known for the deals they make as opposed to for some big creation. So I'm a dealmaker, but I found out that I'm not a hardcore salesman, right? And am I falling in the category of a bad deal maker? So don't think a deal maker is a salesperson. They're not a salesperson. We're all salespeople, or more importantly, we're all people who are looking to create something of value for others to want to buy. And so by understanding that, the most important thing is to know deal making has nothing to do with sales. Deal making has everything to do with you being good with people. So my second question is, my secondary profile is supporter. How big is that influence on my personality, right? So I'm going to talk about secondary profiles in a moment for everyone who's done Wealth Dynamics, which is the kind of upgraded version of the Genius test. If you want to find out more about Wealth Dynamics and the 8 profiles on which all wealth is created, you can go and have a look at this link here. But David also has a follow-up. I'm good in building relationships with people, which is pretty much what a deal maker is. Here's a second question I'm going to just throw in here as well, which is from someone called Shelley Bridgman. Shelley Bridgman says, hi, Roger. Committed to grow my position in yellow level at 2015. So these are the levels that we go through in this series in the first 11 of the videos. As a star profile, I always read I need a deal maker and a lord, yet struggled to make the right contacts in these areas. If this is problematic, what should I do? Do you see what's happening here? I mean, on the one hand, we have David Lee saying, look, I'm not a good deal maker. How do I connect to all the right people? On the other hand, you've got Shelley saying, look, I'm a star. I know I need a deal maker. Can't find them. We're all connected, right? I mean, like you see this by just reading the comments. You'll find people on there you should be working with potentially, right? Who are following along with the same mindset as you have because they're watching this video series. You go into Genius U, you're going to find all the deal makers and all the stars you need. Even go into Facebook and just link up on the Wealth Dynamics Facebook page, and there's 43,000 people there that are all basically connecting and finding others who are interested that are interested in the same things as them. And we're going to be building all through this year Genius U to be tapping into those circles where you have the same passions as others, with the launch of the passion test that's just happened, with the same or different geniuses as each other. So I mean, David, you could already connect up with Shelley as an example. However, let's just go a bit deeper into this. You have to make sure you're starting with the playground you're playing in, right? Because what one has as rules is the opposite of others. So someone as a deal maker, for example, they create their value through being accessible, whereas stars create their value by being inaccessible. So someone like Donald Trump has got 2 PAs who spend the whole time on the phone, so he's always there, ready for the next deal. Whereas someone like an Oprah Winfrey is a star, is someone who isn't going to be there on the phone the whole time. She's got deal makers who are doing that for her. So when she shows up, she's magnifying her brand, and everyone's showing up to want to see her. So understanding the two are opposite. Just like if I say, should I kick the ball or should I, or should I pick it up? Well, it depends if you're playing football or if you're playing basketball. So understanding the difference of the game is key to this. If David, you say, well, I want to be doing deals specifically for a community, for a market, which is in health or which is in property, then you're actually picking up a particular environment where you go to those places where those other people are there. And if you were in property, for example, in a particular country, and you were to show up at all the places where people are looking for the right connections and the right opportunities, it isn't going to take long for someone with your talents to be able to connect all the right people up in such a way that you become of value there. If it's in health, if it's in education, same thing. It's an entirely different environment you're setting up for yourself. But when you're in there, you're finding those connections, and that's when the flow starts to happen, right? So as Woody Allen says, 80% or whatever his percentage was of success is showing up. And it's actually making sure you're showing up in the right place. I say exactly the same for Shelley. Show up in the right place, looking for the people you're looking for. You're going to find that with your brand and with your sparkle that you have, you're going to be attracting people who are going to want to be doing the right deals with you, but it's all about showing up. Okay, a few more. Sarah Justine Packwood. Thanks, Roger, for another brilliant video. I always find your videos insightful, practical, and encouraging. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, this has now helped me shift from my usual new routine of goal setting to now one of setting standards. That was on the last video. Great, a breakthrough. I have a couple of general questions for you and entrepreneurs who have subscribed here. Question 1, to what extent do you use intuition in your decision making? Interesting question. And question 2, to what extent do you integrate your multiple brains, head, heart, gut, in decision making and moving forward? And if so, how do you get the balance right? Hey, anyone who's watching these videos knows that I come very much from an Eastern philosophy point of view around flow. In the West, I think that there is a very different definition of balance to the East. In the West, balance is really kind of like the scales of justice, right? It's like static balance where everything is stable. Whereas in the East, it's a dynamic balance. It's yin and yang, it's night and day, where you end up with a balance, but at any one point, there's a wave that's taking place. Why that's so important is because you need to balance the gut, the mind, the heart, but rather than try and say, I'm going to do it all at the same time, you got to flow it through. So let me just show you how you do this and the criteria you set for any decision that you're making. It fits the 5 different frequencies that you find within the geniuses. Let's start with the Dynamo Genius. Dynamo, which is the top of the square, it's like intuitive thinking, and it's all about going with the gut. It's about, this is will. Will is solar power, solar plexus, right? Will is like, this is something I really want to do. People who dynamo, they'll make a lot of decisions based on their gut instinct. This is something I really want to do because it feels like they're moving forward with it. Dangerous though, because you can end up deciding on too many things you're doing, and which is why so many people who are dynamo geniuses end up with way too many things that they're starting at any one time. But it's important that if you don't have that feeling of like, wow, I'd love to be part of this, it's probably the wrong thing in the first place. Second thing is the heart. This is more the blaze genius. It's the summer energy. The heart is all about how would this affect my relationships, the people around me? Is it going to help them out as well, right? And people who are more coming from that space, that's what they're going to be thinking about more as well. But me as a dynamo genius, or in fact any genius, is the same thing. If it doesn't get you to say, this is something I really love to do, and then it doesn't always tick the box as well, and it's great for everyone around me as well, it's again probably the wrong thing. So you go from one, which is, okay, will, to heart, to the next one is body. This is now tempo energy, which is, does it feel right? Does it sit right? In all aspects of basically, if I'm here 3 months in the future or 6 months in the future and I've taken this decision, is this feeling like it's actually giving me more in terms of connection and more in terms of fulfillment? Or is it just going to be a whole bunch of hard work and a whole bunch of craziness? And if it doesn't feel right in that aspect, again, you're probably making the wrong decision. And then you've then got the steel energy, which is the mind, right? Which is like, okay, what if it all goes wrong? All about like looking at the downsides, the risk sides. really important as well. And a lot of people, if they're just going with the gut, they never even get to that until it goes wrong. And then they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen. And then the final one, spirit. Spirit is that, does it lift us all up? Does it actually impact a wider purpose than just me, getting my immediate fulfillment or satisfaction? So those 5, will, heart, body, mind, spirit, in that order, goes from the what, the who, the when, the how, and the why. It links all of them together. So the criteria that I give you, you can write these down if you want, the criteria I use for any decision that I make and any opportunity that comes my way is, first of all, it has to tick off the checkbox number 1. Does it follow my path? Because there's so many opportunities that can come our way. If it doesn't follow your natural path, and if you don't know what your path is, you've got to start with that. Go right back to the beginning of these videos. Start with setting up your future vision, where you're going in the future. That's your path. Does it fit your path? If it doesn't, I'd rather pass it on to somebody else where it does, or else it's going to take me off my path. Number 2, if it fits my path, it means I'm going to move forward in that area. That's will. The second thing is then, am I adding value to this? So wealth equals value times leverage. If I'm not adding value myself in, if it's just some business opportunity where me being part of it doesn't add value to it, it's not going to work anyway, right? They'd find someone else who actually can add more value. So do I add value into it? And this is very much the hard part, right? Where I'm now creating a stronger connections as a result of being part of this. The third one, which is, am I able to leverage this? Is now the whole body. It's like, does it fit well with everything? It's like, okay, so this is something that because I have that business, I can leverage that brand or those people to make this happen. That makes it easier to happen. I should totally do this. If it's something totally foreign, which doesn't leverage with anything I've got, probably shouldn't do it. And then the next one, which is now mind, the risk side, is if it goes wrong, if I fail, will I still be motivated? That's a really interesting question. Like, if it goes wrong, I lose the money I put in, I lose the time I put in, am I still motivated by it? Now, I might not have thought it through enough at that point to think, well, what would I have if I lost everything? Well, I could still have the new database that we created. I might still have the new systems or relationships, the new learning. That would be worth it, no matter what, even if it all failed, right? So set it up in such a way that even if it all fails, you're still okay. Then the final one is that if it actually succeeds, will I be inspired? I mean, that's the spirit part, because if you're not inspired by it, no point doing it. Now, this really means that straight away, you have now got 5 things to check against. And if you do this well, like Richard Branson says, within 30 seconds, he knows if the right thing's not. He's going through his criteria real quick. So you can do exactly the same, make that decision for yourself. What are your criteria? And that's the way that you can end up using all the modalities, but in a dynamic balance. I hope that helps. All right, a couple more questions here. We have got here Sebastian, life is the best ever. Hey, Roger, great post again. Thank you. Totally loving the step-by-step style mixed with stories. I have a question about employing my first team member. Okay, so for anyone who's actually looking to build a team, this could be of value to you. Okay, I'm in New Zealand. I'm a orange level creator style living in New Zealand. I found a company over the last 6 months distributing high-end life-changing infrared saunas, all right, through New Zealand, Australia, Europe. Employing the first team member feels like a step into the unknown. I know I need or want a supporter profile, which is someone who's really good with people, someone who can connect very well and naturally with others, but I'm not sure how to go about identifying them when they apply. I guess one of the steps is to do a good match is to write a suitable supporter position ad. Absolutely. Like something where you're going to meet lots of people, have lots of variety as what someone who's more extrovert wants to be applying to. I plan to give the Wealth Dynamics test to the top 3 applicants. Great. Use the tests and the tools here, and many people do, to know you've got the right people coming on board and what their natural strengths are. Any thoughts or tips on what would be the best way to do this? Lots of love from New Zealand. See you in Sydney. Awesome. See you in Sydney, Sebastian. Okay. Yes. The most important thing today is to make sure that you've at least trialed someone out in the area that you think they can be strong. And there's really 2 levels of trial before you say to someone, we should totally be working together. The first one is in the conversation or in the interview. So for example, with a supporter, without getting on the phone, you wouldn't know how they come across. Get them on the phone, have the conversation even before the face-to-face interview, and ask them, hey, this is the product we've got. What connections would you have, or who would you go to based on, these are who questions. Who would you go based on what you've heard that you think could be of value here? If they can't start answering that question, you got the wrong person. If they go, oh, I'd go to this person and I'd have this connection here, and then you're starting to know, oh, this person clearly is very well connected. It's what they already naturally do well. Similarly, it goes for all the other profiles. If you're looking for someone more introvert, someone who's really good at systems, same thing. You're saying, right, I'm going to give you a little test. We do this when we're getting our developers on board. We'll give them a little test. We'll say, okay, so if you could code this, how would you do that? If you've got an accountant coming on board, right? If I was to give you our P&L from the last year, and you were to analyze it and give me some suggestions, what could you tell me, right? So what you're doing is you're just seeing how they process and how they think based on the natural tendency you're looking for in the first place. Same for people who are creative, give them a creative solution. Same for people based on tempo and service. Say if you had this service issue, how would you deal with it, right? And that's the fastest, quickest way to get that sense. And then the second thing is give them a trial for 3 months and set very clear criteria of what it is that means success has happened, what it is which means it's not working out. And if you've got someone who's really keen to work with you, they'll be willing to put that time in, knowing that at the end of that time, and by having clear criteria of what they're aiming to do, if it works out, great, they'll be with you. And if it doesn't, then you're parting without any hard feelings. All right, we have gone pretty much to time right now, so I'm just going to add one final question in here, and this is from Anonymous. Hello Roger, I'm a Blaze star in infrared, which is why I want to be anonymous. So infrared is someone who's going more and more in debt every month. Let me tell you, Anonymous, that there is now huge numbers of people all over the world, especially in the Western world, who are infrared and negative. It doesn't mean people who have no money are infrared, by the way. There are people out in the Papua New Guinean rainforest who don't even use money, and they're not in infrared. They've got sufficiency in everything they have. But infrared basically is something that can be switched very quickly, but we live in a culture which is a debt-driven and consumer-driven culture where we weren't taught at school how to not be an infrared, so we all end up in this situation where we have to learn for ourselves after getting those credit cards and after spending more than we should, that this is not the way to do it. And most of the time there's no one there to show us how to actually shift that, which is what this is all about. So you've got a question here, which is I've got a one-man business and leadership training. I'm based on intuition, knowledge of 4 characters, very much the same sort of things that I'm talking about here. I've got lots of debt to pay back beyond my current income. So you say as a star, I should personally brand myself, magnify, connect with people. No, that is for being a star at a high level where, like, for example, when you're on the pitch and you're already playing the game and you're accepted in the team and you're being of value to the team, you've got a very specific position you're playing on that pitch. But to begin with, before you get to that, it's about getting in the game, which means getting with someone where you're adding value to them. Don't worry about your personal brand yet. That's an important point before I go further here. On the other hand, as you say here, to get out infrared, I should consider working for someone to have a more steady income. Yes, that's what I say. How can I do that and keep my personal brand alive or build on it? And the answer to that is simple. When you're sharing with people your aspiration of what you'd like to become and why you think that would be of even more value when you're working with them, and how when you're working with them you'd like to learn the things that you can learn from them to allow yourself up to that next level, people will always support you towards your dreams if you're clear on what your dreams are, and provided it's also of value to them as well. That's the most important point of this. Another topic that made me wonder, leveraging my business and still stay independent seems difficult. This is because you're in infrared, so you're disconnected, so it feels that way at the moment as well. You're asking, should I start a TV channel like my one? No, now's not the time to do any of that, because it all takes money without any guarantee of money coming back the other way. I mean, I can afford to do this channel here, and I love doing this channel, but it's because I've got businesses that I'm making money doing things in such a way that I'm not there getting to the end of a day after having done some video and then find out I don't have dinner on the table, right? What's really important about this is to make sure that if you are going negative, you get yourself positive. And the way to do that is to say, who are the people I most want to serve? How do I get in front of those people in a way that I can be of value to them? And what is it that the biggest problem or biggest challenges that I can support them with? And someone who's a star can think on the feet, allows you to get connected in with those people. So get a list of the 3 top people you'd want to be working with, the people that you know you can be of most value to, and you'll probably find each of them already has some kind of partnership program, some kind of way to get connected anyway, because every river always has tributaries, right? So we, like for example, for us, we have all these different affiliate programs and partner programs that people can get involved in to come play with us. And that's one of the most important key things behind this as well. Why is it that so many of us get stuck and separated from each other? My personal belief is I really believe that it's because there is this separateness from an idea we might have that we want to get to market and what people really need. You know, I actually met, this is kind of like my final little thing I want to share here, and I hope this has been of real value to everybody in some aspect of what I've covered. But the final thing I want to share is why are we doing this education free? Why are we giving this out there? It's really for you to share it with others. I was speaking to someone recently who's an employer who's saying it's ironic that so many graduates are leaving universities and colleges and not getting a job. And he was saying he had a problem getting people who had the right skill sets for the jobs. So there's a mismatch of education saying, well, here's like people who are now educated, the employers saying, but they're not educated to be able to work with us, and the two aren't connecting. So the most important thing is to actually be able to say, well, what is it going to allow us to be able to actually educate people in such a way that they become really financially viable within the markets, that they become of value to others, and then you get that connection in here. Just like it's not about your product, it's about what do people need, and the more you know what they need, the more you can bring your talents up to serve them at that. I really believe that these videos, for example, are a perfect example of something where the more people start using these tools to get connected in with where the real need is within your market, within where you want to go, is going to make all the difference, not just to the flow you can create in your own life, but the value you can give to everyone around you as well. So I really hope that you share these videos, that you put the comments in of what you would like to see in the upcoming videos as well. Whatever questions you have. Didn't get to all the questions today, but I think I got to quite a few of them. And what I will do is make sure we have another Q&A coming up in the coming videos as well. Keep watching. Have an absolutely fantastic week ahead, and I'll catch up with you on the next video. If you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe, and we will be seeing you again very soon.